Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Heather Chubb with the Chubb Law Firm, where we help families navigate the legal, financial, and emotional journey of aging for greater peace of mind. This morning, my guest is Alexandra Weisgerber with the Alzheimer's Association. I'm so excited to have you here this morning. I know you've got great information for us. So welcome, and let's just dive right in. So what are some of the things for people to, or first of all, there's a lot of misunderstanding. What's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me today, Heather. So we often get this question at the Alzheimer's Association, what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? And what we tell everyone is when you think of the word dementia, think of it as an umbrella term. So it's really a set of symptoms, and we'll talk about some of those in a moment. But Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia, and it accounts for about 70% of all dementia-related cases. And it's typically, we see the hallmark signs of memory loss, confusion, but there's other types of dementia. So there's Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia. So really, if you go to the doctors and the doctor says you have dementia, you want to ask, well, what kind? What am I dealing with? Because we know that the symptoms are going to vary depending on what type of dementia that you have.
Okay, great. So if somebody was kind of concerned that their family member might have dementia, what are some early signs of Alzheimer's that families could watch out for?
Sure. So we know that one of the most common signs of Alzheimer's disease, especially in the early stages, is memory loss that's really disruptive to daily life. So it's not just if you walk into the garage to get a bottle of water and you forget why you were in there, but then you go back into the house and you go, that's right. This is something different. This is somebody who's forgetting to go to appointments, such as today. Heather, you and I have had this on the calendar for several weeks. If I forgot to come here today, that would be of concern. This is my livelihood. This is what we do. So it's more of those types of memory losses that were of concern. And then there's other signs such as challenges in solving problems, which is really our executive functioning piece. If you think about, you waking up this morning, all the steps that it took for you to get onto this Zoom today and have this podcast, we start to see changes in individuals that miss those steps of perhaps brushing their teeth, putting on their jewelry, getting dressed. So really that executive functioning piece. And then we know confusion of time or place. I know with my grandmother, this was one of the early signs that she had been going to her local Safeway for 25 years. Then we got a call that they had moved the Safeway, and we thought, something's going on here, Mimi. The grocery store was there last week, right? So those types of changes, they may be subtle, especially in the early stages. But if it's something different, we want to make sure that we pay attention to that, especially in the early stages, because it might be something that can be treated. So really looking for those differences in an individual's baseline and normal functioning.
Okay. So say that you do have a situation like you just described with your grandmother. How can a family approach having that really hard conversation about, hey, maybe there's some memory loss or there's something just unusual going on?
Sure. And, I can sit here and give lots of tips, but we all know how difficult these conversations can be, right? Because there's still a lot of stigma around this disease. As an adult child, you may feel uncomfortable or out of place talking to perhaps a parent about it. But I would just encourage folks to talk about it. One of the main reasons is because of, the early diagnosis. We want to know what's going on. Sometimes it's not a form of dementia. It could be a medication interaction. Perhaps somebody has a urinary tract infection. There could be other things that are happening that could be treated. We know that depression can really mimic those signs that I just talked about in the early stages, but depression can be treated. So again, it's something that we would say, talk with them about it, come from a place of compassion, not saying things like you're always forgetting or you never remember, but really, hey, Mimi, last week it was a little concerning because you called and that you said that they moved the grocery store. And so let's talk about that. And I'll go with you to the doctors and let's really figure that out. And you still may get some resistance. We
Mhm.
know that that's what we deal with, that maybe I'm fine as we age, these things happen. And that's true. As we age, our memory changes, our functions changes a little bit. But not everybody that ages gets Alzheimer's or some type of dementia. And so really we would just say, have those conversations, and people can call in to us at the Alzheimer's Association and get some tips around what that looks like. We can have a family meeting to say, why don't we approach it in this way? But really being able to have those conversations and offering to go to the doctors with them, and not, just doing it all at once and maybe 10 people around a table, but really picking that individual that's going to have that honest conversation with them.
Great. So now we're going to talk about the caregivers, and caregivers get stressed out. They get burned out. What are some things that can help them? Either you can't alleviate that for
Right.
sure, but reduce some of the stress and burnout. So obviously it's going to be, they need to take some time for themselves, but that's really difficult for them to do. So what kind of tips do you have along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. And I, we work with caregivers every day, and it's hard because, caregivers, they're in the throe of it. And so their task list continues on. And so the first thing we say is accept help. If that neighbor asks if they can bring you dinner, say yes. People like to help. So give them that gift of allowing to help, and also, alleviating the moment that you have to make that dinner and come up with those plans. Or if somebody offers to mow your lawn, accepting the help, I think, is the biggest piece of it. Taking care of their own needs. So making sure that they go to the doctors, that they go to their dental appointments, that they get a break for themselves. And so there's a lot of great community resources that will provide that respite care, if you will. The Del Oro Caregiver Resource Center, the Alzheimer's Association, and many others in the community offer funding to help for respite care. And so that respite means perhaps somebody comes into the home while your loved one, while they're staying with your loved one, and you go to the grocery store by yourself, or you go play a game of golf with your friends. So really getting that break and giving yourself the permission to take that break. There's also a variety of support services in our community. We have support groups where you can connect with others who are in the various stages of the disease, who are going through something similar. And just that in itself helps you're not alone, and gives you ideas of how to manage different behaviors within those support groups. So really kind of that bottom line is, as hard as it is, accepting that help, and making sure that you take care of yourself and getting those breaks.
Super helpful. So saying yes more than saying no.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Great. What kind of legal and financial assistance should someone have in place if they have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or some other sort of dementia?
Yes, and I'm sure you're very familiar with this and the work that you do, Heather. So we know that early on is so important. Everybody should have their plans in place, whether they have Alzheimer's or a type of dementia. But the earlier on, the more the person can be involved in their decision making. Who do they want as their power of attorney for healthcare, for finances? Who do they want to provide that care? And those conversations can be heavy. They can be very difficult, but really the most important piece is having those conversations early on, so that the families know what they want. They don't have to react in crisis if something happens, if somebody is hospitalized, and really being able to put those plans in place before the person no longer has the capacity to do so, and then other entities get involved, and then it becomes maybe a stickier situation with the family. So you're the expert in this area, Heather. From the Alzheimer's Association, we know that perspective is really the earlier on those conversations, the better. And if you already have those plans in place, such as my husband and I, we have our trusts, we have our things. Well, we have to revisit those in a few years because things change and circumstances change. So making sure that we're really knowing, what those documents say and who's in charge, and just having those conversations.
Great. Thank you so much for the commercial for what I do. And, having an elder law attorney as part of the team is really helpful too. But remembering to update and at least blow the dust off your documents.
Yes. Yeah. It's important.
So specifically, how can the Alzheimer's Association help with services for families with a loved one with dementia or Alzheimer's?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that we offer is our 24/7 helpline, and so people can call that at any time of day or night. If it's 2 a.m. and your loved one was a night nurse and they think that they have to go to work, you call us and we will come up with the strategy of helping keeping your loved one home and safe. But we provide a variety of services. We are a nonprofit organization, so all of our services are free of charge. We have support groups, as I mentioned, not only for caregivers, but for people who are in the early stages of a diagnosis, who want to connect with others and talk about the frustrations and anxieties and fears they may have as the disease progress. We offer a variety of educational topics, from the 10 warning signs to how to manage those difficult behaviors and communicate with individuals throughout the course of the disease. We offer respite care, as I mentioned earlier. We offer the funding, and then we'll help you get connected to the appropriate resource, whether that's an adult day center, an in-home care agency, so that caregivers can get a break. And really anything that surrounds any type of dementia, it's not just Alzheimer's disease, we're here to provide that support. We never like to hear, we wish we would have known about your organization. Our family was going through this. And so hopefully by hearing this today, you'll call, you'll give the phone number to a neighbor or a friend, and we will tease out, maybe you don't know why you're calling us. We will figure out how we can help you and provide that support and resources in the community.
Oh, that is a wonderful resource. And so just to emphasize, the helpline is available 24/7. And then, of course, you do have a really wonderful website with lots and lots of resources on it as well.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for that. And that is alz.org. So perhaps you can't pick up that phone right now. You can go to our website. We have a variety of topic sheets on, perhaps you need to get somebody to bathe and you don't know what to do, or there's a behavior that's happening. All of that we have on our website. We also have the updates on research, because we know there's new medications out there. And so any questions or support that people are looking for, it's on our website, or give us a call, and we're there to provide support.
Excellent. Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You are such a wealth of information, and I love getting out to our audience, just the valuable resources that we have in the community. And of course, the Alzheimer's Association is absolutely one of those gems of a resource. So thanks for getting up early and joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.